Welcome to the Maverick Mindset podcast, a podcast that will explore the stories of people who have chosen to take life into their own hands, in their own way, and define what success means for them. Be prepared to be inspired, motivated, and maybe even learn something new. My name is Romeo Santos, and I'll be your host. This is the Maverick Mindset podcast. Let's go. All right, Maverick Nation, we're back at it again. We're here today with my boy, Chris Lynch. He's an incredible individual. And Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to jump in and talk. So how you been, man?
Can't complain, man. You know, got some blessings of weather lately. So the cabin fever is being released from that snow and, well, what do we call it? Snow, just that ice and rain we had. Yeah,
no doubt, for sure. I was telling somebody that the other day. I'm like, man, it's over 50 degrees and there's sun out and all the ice is melted. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Cool. So where are you at right now? You were telling us you're in DC right now, right?
Yeah, right now I am sitting on my back porch in Trinidad, Northeast Washington, DC.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm coming to you all from Annapolis, Maryland. So, all right. So listen, Chris, tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing right now. I know that you're doing some really cool stuff, but share with our audience everything that you're doing right now.
All right. Well, I still wonder sometimes what I'm actually doing. So to put it all in a nutshell might be kind of difficult to pinpoint.
Okay. We got time.
As of right now, I am fully supporting myself. Predominantly, I'm painting murals in and around the DMV area. I've now painted murals as far as Richmond and Tulum, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And it's been a blessing. It's been a roller coaster. And yeah, for about 2 years now, I have been able to shave off any other part-time work. And this is my full thing now, my main thing.
That's amazing. So full-time artist doing what you love. That's incredible. So yeah. Tell us about these murals. Like if you had to describe them to people, what type of murals are we talking?
So a lot of, I guess a lot of the feedback I get from people is I have a tattoo-esque style. Commissions pay the bills. And that is a great thing to have in my life. One I'm very fortunate for and I stay grateful for. But when a commission comes along, I gotta kind of align my vision with somebody else. You know, it's two people, you know, if not more than one. So with that being said, I do anything and everything. I try to convey messages for people. I try to bring some appeal to maybe a stagnant kind of void of an atmosphere, a room, or, you know, say in a nightclub or a restaurant. Try to emphasize a style that somebody might be trying to convey. But yeah, I mean, if I had it my way, I'd probably just paint a bunch of portraits and do a bunch of graffiti lettering. That seems to be where my head always goes, especially when I'm doing things just for me and there's no money on the table and it's strictly, you know, my expression.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my main move right there is align with people and you know, be an avenue in which they can purchase art, but also, you know, have it transcribe whatever their vision may be as well.
Okay, very cool. And so what do you think is the coolest mural that you've done so far?
I gotta say one that still resonates like pretty hard with me right now is a mural I did in Tulum, Mexico. I
was hoping you were going to go there.
October of 2020. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about it.
So that that was a cool one. Me and my girl took a vacation.
Okay.
You know, with everything going on, we wanted to play it safe, but also, you know, kind of realistically, there were a lot of changes going on with the pandemic. You know, playing it safe with the people around us. Me and her lived together. You know, felt comfortable taking a trip together. Didn't want to go across the ocean because what if something happens and now we got an ocean between us and home? So I was on the fence between Sayulitas and Tulum. I'd never been to either. We had just gotten back from Colombia, the country, not the city, not too long before this. So I wanted to go somewhere warm again. So we ended up settling on Tulum. It was the cenotes that sold me. So, you know, with that kind of like split decision, that pushed me over the edge. We went to Tulum. ended up in Cancun. Now this is the thing. So I work with spray paint. So that medium is my go-to. It's what I'm comfortable with. I used to be a little punk kid spraying on, local post office or stuff. And, it's just being a little punk. And then, we met in the industry, nightlife industry, hospitality industry. But as art returned into my life, spray paint's always been my thing. So I find myself in Cancun with my girl in hands, my bag in hand, and about 2 hours north by car from Tulum.
Okay.
I ended up getting online, found a website that, was in all Spanish, hadn't been updated for maybe a decade, but found a graffiti shop. Now, the thing is, with spray paint, I tend to lean towards these newer cans. When I was younger, we would heist a few Rust-Oleums from, the local shit. Now I think about it, it's probably Heckingers now is what they would call it there.
Yeah, Heckingers, yeah.
So it's either Heckingers or Home Depot. But now it's beautiful. They have these cans and they're geared towards artists. They're low pressure cans, all these interchangeable caps. I mean, it's come a long, long ways just from, being a punk kid, heisting Rust-Oleum that they use on patio furniture and, running amok in your town. So they have these great cans that are geared. So I figured, this is an international thing. Everybody loves art, transverses everything. And I've seen, on social media, graffiti artists that I follow as far as like, from Spain to, France. So I gave it a shot. I found a graffiti shop in Cancun. Like I said, it hadn't been updated in 10 years. I get into Cancun, girl in hand, bag in hand, meet my driver, say, I need to get to this shop, give him the address, a bit of a language barrier. And then I need to go south 2 hours down to Tulum. How much? He was mad cool, ended up taking him to lunch. We get into Cancun. It's like 30 minutes from the airport. We pull up. The shop is non-existent. We're in this small little courtyard market. It doesn't even exist, and I'm thinking, bite the bullet, just enjoy your vacation. Not a big loss, right? So you don't get the paint, no big. So it turns out there's a tattoo shop across the street. I go inside. We're going to ask them a question. Do you know what happened to this shop? Because the barbershop next door to the supposed address, they didn't know where the place went. So the tattoo shop says, oh, that used to be ours. It went under. And as my driver's communicating with the dude at the counter, I see all these dusty cans in the back, and I'm like, oh my God, like gold mine. But the thing is I think I was the only person in there to buy cans in the last like 10 years. They had dust on tops. They didn't even there's staples, right? Like the black and the white is like a staple, for outlines, making things pop, highlights with the white. And those don't exist. So I have no image in my head of what I want to paint. I have no blacks, no whites. I'm a little limited, and it was going to test me, man. So I took the challenge. I figured I'm in Mexico. I want to show some love, pay some homage to a dope country that's, welcoming me with open arms. And I got, a bunch of colors from the Mexican flag. I got the red. I got some lightest gray I could find. They did have one of those, and some red and green. We make the purchase, end up down in Tulum. Me and my girl have a great vacation. Now we live together. We're very mature about things. We just like to communicate. So I look at her and I say, babe, I got these cans I've been dragging around from one Airbnb to the other. Do you mind if I take our final day and go find a place to paint? She said, no, not a problem. I'll go hang by the beach. Now, when I was in Tulum, there's artwork everywhere. I was like, this is dope, and I'm thinking, it looks like some of the artists I could recognize, and they're big names. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking they had to have either, just paying homage, or they were like contracted. I'm not sure. I figured I know my path, and, who's to say with the little bit of Spanish I know, I can't find somebody and say, I'll paint something, beautiful for you for free, just to say thank you, because I'm here in your country and in your town. Is that cool? So that was my whole MO. We go out one day. I meet my driver. By this time, him and I had become pretty close over the week. Times we made a pit stop for food, and I just invite him in. It's weird to me if you're gonna sit in the car for like 45 minutes. Come on in, buddy. So we're chilling. We got to be friends. And on this final day, I'm telling this man, Francisco, take my girl to the beach. For me, there's this neighborhood I saw, a lot of blank walls, like cinder block buildings. And I got these paints, like, just drop me off and I'll fend for myself. I'll figure something out. And he asked me, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to paint something. And he's like, can I see some of your work? So, beauty of the 21st century. I give him my phone, show him some of my pieces. He gets right on his phone, makes a phone call. And his buddy has like 4 little villas, beachfront. And he was like, yeah, you can paint. I got a spot for you. And I was like, really? Like, just like that? He was like, yeah, no problem. Works out beautifully. I got this wall. It's got some old kind of like Kraken attacking a pirate ship boat, but it was cool. But they insisted that I paint over it. They're like, yeah, it's cool, but like, we've seen what you do. We want you to put yours up. And that was just dope because my girl's like 100 paces from me right on the beach. I'm right on like this little dirt road, like right on the main strip there. It was right down the street from some nightclub called La Zebra. And it was just an honor, man. There was some kid, he's maybe 17 years old. I gave him 200 pesos and I said, you have, one solid color paint, just to blast it all out. And he had a roller. This dude grabbed like a mop handle. This is a wooden handle, like a broom handle, I guess. Pulls out a pocket knife, says, no problem. I pay the kid. He starts shaving off the end into like a spear, jabs it into some roller because it's like it didn't even have like screw threads. And I was like, man, innovative. Like, I dig this. So he knocks it out, blasts it all in just kind of like one solid color to give me a blank canvas. And I just went in, man. I went in for like probably like good 7 hours total.
Wow.
At one point, like, dude pulled over on his motorcycle, asked me to paint his bike. I was like, dude, I gotta be in Cancun in like 2 hours to fly out. I wish I could help, but I'm limited. And yeah, it was just a whole day that fed me. We kicked it, got to know these people. Just spent the day with them. And it was a beautiful thing. And I think the drive behind it was, I found out a lot about that part of the Yucatan Peninsula that I had never known. I had no idea that, and this is the funny thing, because again, like, as I said, I had no vision. I had no idea. I just got colors that were the same as the flag and figured I can't go wrong if I pay homage to Mexico overall. So now I find myself in this part of Mexico that I've never been in. I come to find out, now I hope I'm not exposing myself as, being rather unworldly. I had no idea that Mayan was still a practiced and utilized language.
Yeah.
And it is so far from, I don't know, it's not even remotely close. Most of it, at least to me, it wasn't even remotely close to Spanish. It was just like its own thing. And I found that fascinating. I found it fascinating that Francisco, my driver, was passionately proud about being Mayan. He had named his daughter like a very, very traditional Mayan name. Beautiful name, but unlike anything. And this was just cool, like that Mayan blood still existed. We hear like the fables as I would consider them to myself when I heard about them, like fables in my time of the Mayans, a great civilization that almost disappeared.
Right.
Yet you still have people living and breathing and paying homage to the fact that they are true Mayans. I did a little bit more research when I was, just chilling on the couch in the Airbnb, maybe after dinner, winding down for the night, whatever, getting ready for bed. And I wanted to start reading about this. And I found that not only that, but, that this dope culture and this, I don't know, just dope pride in the fact that they were Mayan, but the fact that Tulum is actually just means like wall or like walled city. And the true name is Zama, which was a goddess in the Mayan culture and Mayan religion, a goddess of the dawn.
Interesting.
So I guess when the Spanish arrived, they just saw this city, which they had, the indigenous people had named Tulum, but they had built walls around it for their own protection. The Spanish, conquistadors, the colonizers show up, they see it, and they just say, okay, walled city, we're going to call it Tulum. So that's what we know it today. And when I came across these things, I'm like, this is nuts. You know, like, yeah, I mean, not to everybody's parade, but there's a lot of, you know, clubs on the beach and stuff. And, you know, they're making money off the tourism, but it's like, I wonder if these people are like aware of like what grounds they're actually walking on, you know, like what people walked here prior to them. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to bring forth something that was representative of the people that you know inhabited that land that we love to go, you know, visit now. And yeah, so I did this dope Mayan shaman. I took this flower that I had found. Actually reached out to a friend of mine. She's born and raised in Mexico, lives in DC now. Reached out to her because I need some kind of like filler, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm using paint on a wall, like I said, like with no vision. I had no idea like what the square footage was going to be. Like I just nabbed up like 14 cans and figured I'll make something dope happen with this. And that was a really cool challenge. But you know, at the same sense, like I've done it enough to know that with these 14 cans, I wasn't going to take this wall coast to coast. So I had to kind of do like something central focused. So I did this big Mayan shaman. And is, you know, maybe a portrait. He probably is, you know, from just below his collarbone to like the top of his head was probably, you know, 10 to 12 feet tall.
Wow.
So that's the scale I did it in. And then I still had a little bit of paint left over and I had some negative space. And I was like, all right, I'm going to fill this with some foliage. So I did a little bit of research, reached out to a friend, and found this flower that's only indigenous to the Yucatan Peninsula. It actually holds pretty, you know, sacred place in Mayan religion and culture, and utilized that. And it was just, I don't know, man. It was like, you know, I get it. I'm not gonna like hate on anybody. There's a lot of things, you know, I probably asked questions that some might find silly because I'm naive to what they do for, you know, a living or with their life. But I had people be like, you know, how did you get this job? Like, how did you get paid for this? And I'm like, that's the mix of doing what you love. Like, nobody paid me. Like, this is still what I love to do. You know, I mean, if you're a travel writer, does that mean you're only going to the beach if you're getting paid to do it? No, you know, like it's dope if you figure out a way to make a living off of it. But yeah, that was just all love right there. You know, the gentleman Carlos told me if I ever come back, you know, holler at him. He's got 3 free nights for me. And this was awesome. Unexpected. I mean, I made it very clear, like I'm doing this like all gratis, you know, like no money. I'm not asking for money. Like just let's get it done. This is what I love to do. And it all came together. And it was just it was a hot day, but it was a rad day, man. That still stands out as one of the highlights for me.
That's an awesome story. I heard a lot of stuff in there that I'd love to unpack. First and foremost, something that I've always known about you that I think probably now the listeners are going to hear is that there is an absolute sense consistently within you of gratitude. I've always picked that up on you. Like you've always been a very grateful person for things that come your way, for the people around you, for the things that you're around. And I think that probably goes in a lot to your mind that helps you to be probably so creative because you're not closed off to things, right? Like you're just like, I've always admired that about you. You always are just a very open person, very grateful. So I think people are probably seeing that. But you know, what you did for everybody listening is you manifested something to come to you that you wanted. Like there's no way that not anybody, very few people out there are going to say, I absolutely love doing X thing in my life. And so I'm going to this beautiful place and I'm going to do said X thing no matter what, and then do it. And then actually do it. I mean, that is a really, really cool story. And then, like you said, I had no vision. I had no idea what to do. And based on the gratitude that you had inside of you, you were able to pull this vision of this shaman out. And then you're like, there's this negative space, but I wanted to, and you continue to be grateful for the place you were in. I want it to be something cool because you could have done anything. I've seen your talent. You're incredible. You call Thanks, people, man. You do some research and you find an indigenous flower specific to the Yucatan Peninsula. And then you throw that in there. I bet you people go through that live there and you probably bring so much love to their heart on a daily basis when they walk past and they see that. And tourists probably just think it's dope, but people that live there are probably like, this is so incredible. Gracias, gringo. right?
Yeah. No, real talk, man. I never thought about it in that sense of manifesting. And like, we read a lot about that, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that hippie stuff, but like, you just nailed it, man. Like, it took an outside perspective to kind of open my eyes to it, but because in my head, I felt like I'm just going through the motions of what I do. It's what I enjoy. But if I knew that I was packing up and getting that, ride back to Cancun to catch my flight, and I still had all my cans full, I'd feel like a punk. It was almost like I can't let that happen. Like, we're this far, might as well, take it to the whole length.
I love it. And that is I think that's a really good lesson in success in general, right? Because the purpose of this podcast is not to celebrate people that have reached everywhere that they've gone. The purpose is to talk to people like you that are mavericks that are deciding what success looks like in their own life, right? And I think that word success gets thrown around so much, and people just imagine, like, if you're not driving a Bentley and you're on the front of Instagram with 10 hot girls and you got a big mansion behind you, that you're not successful. And that's crap. That's not what success is, right? Success is that feeling that I think you were able to get out from your voice as you told that story, that everybody that's going to listen to this podcast is going to say, man, you could hear the passion in what it was that he was doing, right? And so you were like, I would feel like a punk if I didn't do it. And I heard this really great term the other day. It wasn't a term. It was a story of a guy that was like talking about how he wanted success. And so there was an older gentleman that took him out into the water. Okay. And he was like, okay, here, no, a little bit further. Took him out into the water a little bit further. Okay, here, no, a little bit further. Took him all the way out until he could barely like keep his head above water. And then the man pushed his head down and held him there. And held him there and held him there and held him there. And then finally pulled him back up and looked at this other man and said, you will never be successful until you want it as much as you just wanted those breaths.
Damn right.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's got to be on what you want, right? Because you need to breathe. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is like, well, what do you need to feel fulfilled doing what it is that you're doing? And I think that you found it. So I think it's an awesome story. So tell us a little bit. All right. So you're doing this painting now. You're fully supporting yourself with the art, which I think is incredible. And it's a hard thing. Anybody that's not an artist out there, like, that's a hard thing to be able to support yourself as an artist. Okay.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nutty.
Now talk to us a little bit about your journey, how you left some of these other things and you were able to kind of incrementally bring yourself full circle to where you can now support yourself just on your art.
All right. Man. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I always like talking about this one though. So without getting into the nitty gritty details, I don't know, you had me thinking about it briefly, what once was and what is now, being accepting of things that I have no control over, and trying to, man up and change the things that I can't control that might be weighing on me. I know the type, we see the Instagram feeds, and I was actually having a conversation with my girl the other day. You see this ultra modern house on Instagram with, the ultra customized Bentley in the driveway next to a Lambo, and they're both matte black. Oh my gosh, that's a G-Wagon, and it's all matte black, so you got options, of your $3 million worth of vehicles in the driveway. Wow, how cool is this house? It's so unique, but yet it's out in the middle of, the Oregon woods. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is like, I'm not trying to, rain on anybody's parade and say, get real, you'll never attain that, because you absolutely can, right? But I've seen people use those same images and propose them as like, goals, like that's success to them. But in reality, it's kind of funny, the paradox, I guess, or the contradiction that, like, I know that was staged, like I know that like a camera crew was brought in, you probably rent the vehicles from, exotics, spot. The house is dope, maybe it's on the market, it just got built, or maybe it got built for some guy who's like, yeah, I'm successful, but I got no time in my life to, pull my cars up and let you take pictures. And if I do, you got 30K, let's get it in.
Right.
So it's funny because it's like, well, what is your goal? This facade? Because that's really what I'm looking at, in essence, a picture of. It's a facade. And I had that for a while. I mean, we went our different ways. You knew me, probably when I was like mid-20s. And I'm grateful that we always stayed in touch. But, you know, I mean, there's probably a lot of things that, you know, when I was going through, like, I love you to death, Romeo, but I play a lot of things close to the chest. You know, I don't like to catch up with people and, you know, say all the negative things going on, right? So I was just kind of pocketing them away. I found myself in a position where I was, you know, clearing 6 figures a year. I was banging out 90 to 100 hours a week in-house, basically turning into this more or less regional bar manager of, you know, of this restaurant group. I had opened 3 places for them. You know, within 2 months of coming on as a bartender for them, I was running their bar. You know, it was 3 stories. You know, it was crazy. Like, it was 3 floors of the rooftop. You know, I had like a bar staff of like 50 bartenders. You know, and it was a lot. I knew how to do it, and I owe that to the fact that I started washing dishes at 14. I had seen and done every operation in a restaurant, so I was damn good at it, and I was being compensated for it appropriately. I was a train wreck, and I hit it well. But on the outside, you know, like, I turned in my old beautiful, you remember that 98 Wrangler I had, that old jacked up TJ?
Yeah.
You know, that thing was on its last legs. I'm surprised CarMax even gave me the 1,700 appraisal for it. You know, probably got chopped up the second I parted ways with her. You know, jumped into a brand new, you know, Mercedes AMG, paying way too much money, but I had a flashy watch hanging out the window, and I was a train wreck. I thought I was successful. I had no genuine relationships in my life. You know, all touch and go relationships, but, you know, I'll be damned if I didn't look successful. I had money, you know, everybody knew who I was, but, you know, and that was like how I was determining it. And it's funny because that kind of reminded me of when you were talking about, you know, some of the iconic images, you know, pictures worth 1,000 words, right? And people, you know, they know what they're doing when they put these certain images up. They know why they're putting G-Wagon up. You know, it's not an Alfa Romeo because that's not like hot to like the up and comers, but the G-Wagon, you know, damn, packing 600 horses in this like military vehicle is dope. I was pushing towards that, and I was doing it with like no purpose in my life. And I really didn't care how I treated people. I didn't care how I treated myself. And it was cutthroat, man. And, you know, I guess I got to a point like that lifestyle. I would say, you know, 40% of maybe like 30% of my overall revenue was made on products that the federal Johnny Law does not find suitable in our society. You know, I was not playing by the rules, you know, doing things without permits, and, you know, just saying what regulation, just it ain't illegal unless you get caught, right? So with all that being said, like, it just kind of started to weigh on me. But I thought, this is success. Keep going, keep going. Well, I torched it, man. I mean, that's sustainable for only so long.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my first rodeo, and this one was definitely an eye opener. You know, I had to go before some people who I'm not a judgmental person, but these people are actually hired to judge you. So I had to go before some people like that, and things started to change. I got to a point where I realized, like, that lifestyle is still cool to me. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather watch a movie of someone living that lifestyle, because 9 times out of 10, they end up prematurely dead or incarcerated.
Sure.
And I knew that would be an outcome unless I changed something drastically. Yeah. And what happened then was, I don't want to divulge into too much, because, you know, there are some things that kind of, they sit with Chris and they're going to go to the grave with Chris.
Sure.
But in a nutshell, it was me becoming a little bit more spiritual, a little bit more like, shut up, listen to what's going on around you, you know, listen to, like, as corny as it may sound, listen to the universe.
Yeah.
Like, the universe will give you the same test over and over and over and over again until you pass, really.
Yeah.
And I found myself in that situation. You know, like I said, it wasn't my first rodeo. I had been here before. And every time I showed back up before these people that we actually pay to judge, it seemed like the consequences always greater and greater, because they looked at what I do and they say, yeah, you've been here before. as I grew spiritually, I kind of went back to art. Now, this was a talent I'd always had as a young kid. I always knew it. I had enough people tell me that I became aware that what I was doing, like in art class in third grade, was, although, me being the person that I am, I'm judging it and be like, this is crap. I'm just getting through the day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in public school and we're, drawing pictures and stuff. I was always made very aware that what I was doing was a little bit further ahead and far superior than I should be doing at this point, with the median. I went back to this and I started thinking a little bit more. And now to get a little bit deep as I had, taken a more spiritual route in life, I started to understand that, like, in nature, like, there's certain things that humans do. And yes, we can, they put pig hearts in people, like anatomically we're compatible. If you look at any mammal's hand, from like a human to a chimpanzee to a whale to a bat, they all have their, I might be getting the terminology wrong, but they have 5, metatarsals. And if you ever look at an x-ray of a whale or a bat or a human hand, they all kind of have the same structure. Mm-hmm. So we know we're like them. But there's also certain things that we do as humans that nothing else does. And that is, art, really, for me. What drove that man or woman, hundreds of thousands of years ago to pick up some red dirt, chew it up, and spit it atop their hands to make the outline of their hand inside their cave. Like that was their home, and they wanted to add to that. They wanted to accentuate on the walls. That doesn't benefit your survival in any way. Why are you doing these things? We operate a little differently. Music, things like that. Writing. That whole next level of communication that we have. Cinema, and like just all those things. There's very human aspects to them. Mm-hmm. To see wild horses in living in the same environment as you, as like a ancient human nomad. And to say, like, you know what, I love these things. They benefit my life. I've actually brought some in, and we ride them now, and they're beneficial to our lives. I'm going to paint them. I'm going to use some of this water and some of this dirt, and I'm going to draw what my brain perceives that horse to be on the wall of this cave I call home. It's crazy. Nothing else is doing that. So I pursued this. It was kind of like, I guess initially like a coping mechanism for, me putting the piece of my life back together after I had built it up to burn it down. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, as I started to kind of like pay more respect to it, I don't know, I got this thing where kind of having me in Tulum, if you love something, if you respect something, I found myself wanting to educate myself on it, know everything about it. So I started doing this for art, and I started putting 2 and 2 together, just thinking like, this is a very human trait, and it's only a human trait, and that's dope. And I've been told I was talented, so let's give back to it a little bit more. Like I've kind of woke up and realized I had this gift that I was just kind of, part of my French, I was pissing on, and I kind of, my mind changed to a responsibility to you, to every human I've ever come across, to take the gift that you were given and do something dope back to humanity. Yeah. Like, in essence, a lot of times I would hear from people, especially doing like big public works, people outside during the day, stopping to say hi, give props to whatever I'm doing. And if I'm not totally drowned out by what's in my headphones, I stop and I chat with people. That's half the fun of doing big public murals. One resonating thing, I kept hearing people say, I wish I could do that. Mm-hmm. And, maybe they can. Maybe they're selling themselves short. Maybe they can't. Maybe they have no talent. Maybe they're great with numbers. I don't know. The mind works differently in different people. We're wired differently. Yeah. That's on them to figure out. But when I heard that, what I interpreted was, it's kind of my duty then. I have to, because I have to. And, I explain this to people, like, if you saw Michael Jordan in high school and you saw this kid, young, handsome, talented, charismatic, just, and balling, way ahead of his, way ahead of his time, just like killing it. because the man was talented, is talented. If you saw this and then you watched his progression of life towards, say, fast forward 5, 6, maybe a full decade out of high school, and you're keeping up with him, but he kind of went another direction. He's just kind of hitting the bars and, partying, and just being like a wild one and just kind of wash, rinse, repeat, living with no purpose and just pissing on this beautiful gift he was given of talent and athleticism. It's like, how would you feel about it?
Yeah.
Like, would you respect the man? And personally, I would say no. I'd say, man, if I had what you had, I would have taken it to the moon and back, and you're just wasting it.
Yeah.
So in that mindset, I started thinking a little bit and was like, all right, like that's kind of where I am. So I'm honestly making up for lost time. And I picked up art and I got to it, man.
All right. So I love that story that you were just telling us, Chris. It's interesting when you think about, I've been listening to another podcast recently. It's actually a podcast called Win, Make, Give. And it's actually in the industry that I'm in. It's presented by some big real estate folks out of Washington. And this whole week, the podcasts are about failures, right? And it's talking about failing being what it takes to actually succeed, right? That without the failures, that you're not able to succeed. And so they told this story that I thought was really, really interesting. It was an art class, right? Funny enough, we're having this discussion today. Okay. and the instructor gave the students, broke them in half, right? Let's call them 10 students. Okay. 5 and 5. 5 of them were going to get graded on sheer quantity. They were making pots. They were making clay pots. And 50 pounds or more was an A, 40 pounds or more was a B, 30 pounds or more was a C, and so on, right? Then the other group was graded sheerly on appearance. And so an A was to have an absolutely perfect pot, right? And then of course a B, slightly imperfect, so on and so forth. So they go through the project. And at the end of it, believe it or not, the best result, the best looking pots came out of the group of the people that were being graded on weight. And when they went back and they examined it, they were able to extrapolate that the reason being was that one of them were focusing on strategy on how to make something perfect, while the other one was failing over and over and over and getting a little bit better time after time after time. Huh. Isn't that interesting? Just like failure, right? Like we have to fail and we have to have these things that happen to us in our life. Otherwise, we don't have the opportunity to grow, right? You're big into fitness. You know what it actually means to build muscle. It's not actually that you're building muscle. It's actually that your body is repairing damaged muscles. And that's how you actually build muscle. Well, same thing with our mind, same thing with our life. We're growing and getting better by repairing damages, i.e. failures that we have.
Huh. Yeah, I like that, man. Cause that's, yeah, I mean, definitely failure sucks, right? It sucks in the moment.
Yep.
But it's kind of like, how long do you want to let it suck? And yeah, I mean, emotions, you can't control those. So failing, like you feel the initial emotion, like that hurts. But if you turn that into like, don't go there again, it can become your best friend, like your best teacher. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? I mean, that's the idea, is that sometimes failure is so necessary because it helps you to realize where you never want to go again.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. And without that, you may not know. And so maybe down the road, you might actually have more to lose. So life is doing you a favor by helping you to fail then before you have too much to lose that maybe you can't rebound. Right. And also the idea is that, we're always on a daily basis losing at something, but the only thing that actually makes us lost is if we don't get back up. Right. Like you said, like it sucks, but how long are you going to spend there? Well, that's exactly right. And who do you have around you? Who do you have in your life that help to like pull you forward and say, hey, let's dust you off a little bit here. It's cool. I know who you are as a person. This isn't you. That mistake that you were making, that's just who you were at the moment. That's not who you are at the core. And then
Yeah.
being able to help pull you through that, right? So when you were going through some of these hard times, was there somebody like that in your life that was helping to kind of dust you off and remind you of who you were?
Yeah, 100%. You know, as I started to change, you know, I started to find myself. I mean, it reminded me, I can't remember the author who put this into words, but they say, you know, sometimes it feels like every day is just the same thing over and over again. But if you look back 2 years, you realize everything has changed.
Yeah.
And that happens. And I think it's because, you know, yeah, the immediate responses, immediate gratifications, those are the most recognized. But if you take a step back and you look back over a period of time, you could realize that some things might have happened like subconsciously. I just realized that you know, I guess just based on my focus and what I was looking at in life and looking for in life, it started to change my circle up a little bit. Now I have my day ones, you know, I have ride or dies in my life that I grew up with, that, you know, are whatever course we take in life, we will always be a part of each other's lives. And I'm adamant about that. But hell, I even ran into complications there. You know, I mean, telling some people, hey, I found myself in this weird spot in life, and I think I'm going to pursue a career as an artist. And a lot of, you know, it was out of love. And I look back and I realized it was out of love, but like a lot of, hey, think this one through, huh? You know, are you sure? You know, you think you can sustain that? Like and the love behind it was, I love you so much, I don't want to see you fail. So I'm gonna say proceed with caution. And some people outright say that's a terrible idea, and that's fine, you know. But it was like, you know, I carry on. But my circle changed in a sense that, yeah, it happened without even my full knowledge or awareness that it was occurring in front of me.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I realized my priorities changed, and I started to align with people who had similar priorities. You know, there was, for example, when I first started out, you know, nobody's going to pay me for, you know, how do you convince someone, hey, I have these spray paint cans in my bag. Give me, you know, give me a few stacks and let's do something dope on the inside of your home, or a place you have a club that you're an owner of and have a lot of money invested. Like, get out of here, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to start doing it at dirt cheap and like climb. I knew in my head, and I'm grateful still to this day that I at least had that knowledge and like awareness of myself, and at least belief in myself, that even if I could just convince someone to cover my costs, you know, say I got $200 in paint, just give me $200, we'll do something. Give me a shot. If you hate it, I'll grab a paint roller and hit it, you know, just get rid of it. But I knew that if enough people saw that, and I could get my name out there, you know, make that sure that signature's big as hell. And if you think someone's gonna be taking a picture in front of it and putting it on the gram, best believe I'm, you know, putting my signature in a well thought out spot.
Yeah.
I knew that it would happen. So that started to work, you know, and people started, as the demand went up, then my prices could go up.
Yeah.
And it started to like come to fruition. And yeah, it was just, you know, with that being said, it was just like, that was the growth that I needed. It was slow. It was, you know, crazy to a lot of people. It was sometimes crazy to me, but I guess when we talk about, you know, like the failure and the circles you align with, there was times I remember, I'm drawing a blank, I'm trying to recall this. It was a little while ago now. I remember slaving away on a mural that I was not satisfied with, right? It was not to my standard. Now, this was early on. You know, I think what they were paying me wasn't even going to cover rent. And it was a big piece, you know, and I'd already spent probably 4 days, you know, 16-hour days on this thing. I'm exhausted. I'm forgetting to eat. I'm forgetting to sleep. I'm tunnel vision on this. And I remember kind of expressing some frustration to someone close to me. Someone that I, you know, is still close, I love and adore, but maybe just a slightly different vision. And they, you know, kind of said something like, well, don't kill yourself. Remember, they're only giving you this much. And that right there was like, I knew that was the direction I could never go. You know, and if I did that, that was going to like end all of this, because at the end of the day, I'm putting my name on that. And this isn't about this paycheck. This is about what this represents of me. This is my public portfolio. You know, this is, if I am relentless on this and I bring it to my standard, not what the paycheck standard is, then it will benefit me in the long run. And like, that's, I think, where the passion comes in. That's, I think, where the discipline comes in. You know, yeah, talent, that's great. You know, that's 20% of the job's done, maybe. The rest is the hard work. And at that point, it's like, if you start doing the math and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually losing money on the amount of time and effort I'm putting into this, the cost of supplies, whatever, and you throw in the towel and say, it's good enough. I'm just glad I didn't go that route, because that would have buried me.
I love that you shared that. And I hope that everybody really, really rewinds and goes back and listens to that again, because there's some real gold in that. And I have stories, multiple stories, talking with people, similar stories. Now, they're not in the same realm that you are as far as personal talent doing it, but even in the realm of business of like, oh, well, it's a small, for instance, I'm in real estate, right? So I'll hear sometimes people say things like, whatever, it's just a rental. It's still your work, right? Your name is on it. That's still your work. You know, don't cut it short because you're devaluing the amount that you're getting paid for. Value yourself first. And it's like Zig Ziglar says, if you do more for the things that you get paid to do, ultimately you'll get paid more for the things that you do.
Hell yeah. I like that.
Right? Because that's exactly it. Like, there are times in life where you must put in much more than what you're being rewarded for, yet ultimately the universe is going to give that back to you. Yeah. So I hope everybody heard that out there. I mean, that's huge. Don't settle in just whatever it is. It's fine. I mean, you can do that. Just know that you're probably never going to reach the status that you say that you're trying to reach. Right. And I think you're doing a really good job of making sure that your video matches your audio. That's something that I like to use a lot as well. I didn't make it up, and I can't remember who said it first, but I loved it and I grabbed it. But that's something that I say to people a lot when we're having these hard conversations. It's like, you're saying that you want X, Y, and Z, but you're doing A, B, and C. So your video is not matching your audio. How do you ever expect to get X, Y, and Z if you're not doing what you're saying you're doing, right? No different than, you know, in a relationship. I really, really love you, honey, but I'm going to go cheat on you over here. Or I really, really want to be a good dad, but I'm going to work 15-hour days and never see my kid. Got to make sure that you're being true and that you have integrity with what it is you're saying. So I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Really, man. Honesty with self. I mean, and it's, it's funny too, because we live in a strange time, man. I mean, it gets twisted real quick. You know, you see the quote thrown around, comparison is the biggest thief of joy. It's true, man. You know, I think about this one instance. Obviously social media is involved, and it's sometimes, especially for a small business, I mean, it's a necessary evil, but it's a conniving little thing. And I can recall I did a mural in right by Eastern Market. And it's big. This was maybe a little over 2 years ago now, probably. And it's funny because at the time, the stuff that I'm not sharing with the public, I was working 3 part-time jobs. Just to rewind a little bit, when I was talking about being that regional, overseeing manager, that I thought I was the man. Yeah, I still think that, but I think I had my vision was not aligned with what I actually believed. So I got fired from that job. Okay. And I went down, cleared my head down in Belize for a little bit, took a little sabbatical, came back, was like, you know what? I had a job offer as a GM. I turned it down, because that was fear. That was fear steering me towards the benefits, the salary, all those things. Freelance work is scary. You want to take on another car payment, like you don't even know how much money you make. Like One month, it could be this, next month, you're wondering if you're going to pay your bills. Who knows? And it was just funny because, this wasn't really my highlight reel. I don't want to tell people I'm working 3 part-time jobs. I want people to see my stuff at this point that I'm sharing on social media and say, this artist is killing it, right? Like it's our highlight reel. And it was funny because through some networking, I got this gig. They couldn't pay me much. They could actually only pay me $300, which covered my paints. This was a mural I did by myself. It is 2 stories. It's about a 25-foot anatomical heart.
Wow.
And after I got fired, after I cleared my head, I ran from the salary jobs. I ran from the benefits. I jumped back in the trenches. I mean, the beauty of having bartending under your belt is like, it's a vocation, man. I mean, every city needs you. You can always find work. Even in like the toughest of economic times, you can still thrive as a bartender. I mean, it's a necessity, like a plumber or a carpenter, right?
Yeah.
So I utilized that. I didn't want to do it forever, but I utilized that. I jumped back in the trenches. I'm working 3 part-time gigs. I'm single. I'm broke. I got, not a lot to show for, but I'm chasing this, dream. And I remember I completed the mural. It was hilarious. I get out there. I'm an amateur. Still am an amateur. Always learning, right? And I just remember thinking, how the hell am I supposed to get up here? Like this massive wall, like in this really narrow alleys. I went down to this hardware store, ended up finding the delivery dude, and was like, dude, I'll give you, because I looked at the prices. They were crazy. For like a rental of a 30-foot ladder was like $80 a day plus like $10 transportation. Man, I found a cat in the loading dock and I said, I'll give you $40 right now if you could throw that ladder on. I'm 3 blocks this way. I need you to drop it off. I could be done with it tomorrow by like noon. So that's straight. He said, I'm about to just go out, run orders. I got you. I think I had found one, but I was like, I think I was a little bit too much of the man. It was like, I picked up the ladder and was like, I got to walk 10 blocks for this thing. It's crazy, So here we are. I'm already cutting into my profit margin. I get a $300 stipend for supplies. I think I kept my paints at like 200 so I could pocket 100, just trying to make ends meet. And now I'm showing off 40 just because, I don't have the wind in me to carry this thing down. By any means necessary, we found a way, where there's a will, there's a way, so we made it happen. I got everything I need. And I spent, on minimal sleep, working these, late night bar gigs at 3 different bars in town. I found time to get out there and bang out this mural. And it was just me and this mural. I wish I had one of the little Fitbits or something, or little things that mark your steps on my ankle or something, because I must have gone up and down, just me and this 30-foot ladder, 1,000 times, man. It's just literally up and down that thing. And I think I just went 12 hours straight.
Wow.
And, it's like the little adjustment. Then you get to the top and you find out, oh, man, it's still an awkward point. Come down, move this thing again. And the reason behind this whole story, though, is just like, it was just funny because the way I was portraying myself, I'm not going to add that stuff. It's a cool story. And I love, being able to open up about it here. But at that point, I just wanted to show people, I'm out here doing it.
Yeah. And
took a picture upon completion. I was satisfied with it. I loved it. And I was really proud of myself. Shared it, people showing love. And I remember somebody reached out to me and was like, oh my God, man, like you were just killing it right now. And I believe that, and I respected them for saying that. And they're like, it's crazy. Like they said something along the lines of like, I wish I had your life. And that made me feel something, but it made me feel like a multitude of things, like 1, thank you very much. It's a huge compliment. But 2 is like, in a weird way, it was like, if you knew what I was actually doing and like what it was requiring of me physically and mentally, I don't know if I would have done it myself had I known what I was getting into. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it was like,
sure.
And it was just like my portrayal was one thing, but in reality, like I was, like I said, I was single, I was broke, I was antisocial, all because I had this tunnel vision on something. I mean, it was agonizing, to tell you the truth, like, and it still is at times.
Yeah.
But the juice was worth the squeeze. And it was just funny because, yeah, I mean, the beauty of social media, the way I was putting it up was, Johnny Cool out there, shirtless on a summer day, just loving life, spraying. But it's like, you have no idea of like the exhaustion I felt, all those things. I can't put that into this, photo, nor do I want to. And it was just funny to me, because it was just like how 20% of the truth is actually portrayed on this this avenue of information sharing, but the reality of it all was very different.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think that's more often than not, and I think a lot of people get caught up in that, right? And there's a saying that I use a lot that, again, I heard from somebody else. Every saying you'll ever hear me say, I'm not intelligent enough to come up with it myself. I just like to remember stuff. So the saying is, don't compare your insides to somebody else's outsides.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have no idea what that story is, right? And, in business and in anything that we're doing, I think that happens a lot. Like we go, oh man, like your friend or the person that sent you that, I wish I had his life. And then you go, no, you probably don't, right? Yet for you, it is the right life, right? Because, it's true that if you want something that nobody else has, you'll have to do things that nobody else will do. And not everybody's willing to do, even if they had the talent that you have, maybe they would not be willing to do that, right? Yeah. Some people may let pride get in the way and say, I'm not doing that, there's no money, or I'm not doing that, it's too much work, or whatever it might be. And they may be missing all that growth through that journey of doing it and learning it, because as you've continued to grow and as you'll continue to grow, you will respect it so much more because of those hard times that you went through and that you did. I believe so anyway.
For sure.
Right. And there's another, I forgot to bring it up before, but when you were saying that friend of yours was like, man, don't do that. You can't do that. Are you sure you want to do that? Or you might want to rethink that. You could probably find the clip. Maybe Marcus will find it and put it on the show notes, but there's a clip of Jay-Z. Jay-Z's having an interview and Jay-Z's like, people told me, man, you'll never sell 100,000 records. And he's like, sold 100,000 records 100,000 times. Right. He's like, don't tell me I can't do it. No, you can't do it. Don't tell me what I can't do.
Try to put their fears on you. You can't do that. No, you can't do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they just projecting, they're putting things that they don't believe that they can do on you. My uncle, he was telling me like, my uncle said I never sell 1 million records. I sold 1 million records like 1 million times. So he was, I'm sure I'm his nephew. I know I don't think he meant any malice.
He wanted the best for you, but
he just was projecting his fears
right.
and things that, are you crazy? How are you going to do that? How? I'm sure there's things that I do now that he can't believe that I was able to accomplish.
Right. And I love that because that's exactly right. But you have to know who you are inside. You got to come to that self-realization and understand that, no, you're going to do it. You're going to manifest it. You're going to persevere. You're going to push through. You'll do it. And when people say, no, you can't do that, oftentimes they're just looking in their own mirror, not realizing it. And then they're just letting that out on you, right? They're letting their garbage out on you. Like you said, though, not with malice intent. Even in this clip, Jay-Z was like, my uncle was saying this. I know my uncle loves me. It's not like he said it with any malice. He just had no idea. He couldn't wrap his mind around what it is. And now look where I'm at. Right.
Yeah.
So I think I think those are all really good lessons. I think I knew this was going to be an awesome conversation with you because I knew that you were going to be able to share a lot of these types of things. But I think for people listening, it's going to be really powerful because, we're not talking about, oh, Chris is making $1 million a year as an artist. We're talking about Chris is doing something he really loves and he's feeling very successful while doing it in his own way. And yet there's all these lessons that are being unpacked inside of it that you've experienced. So I appreciate you sharing those with us. So
yeah, hell yeah, man. Happy to do so.
So who was Chris as a kid, man? Where'd you grow up?
Let's see. I was born and raised in Reston, Virginia. Okay. Small apartment, graduated to a townhome. Parents put the money together, moved me and my brother out to the sticks, out in Loudoun County. I hated it first. I went from, getting on my bicycle and just jet setting to all my friends' houses, back, when I was in Reston to, looking out the window and just seeing pastures with cows and dirt roads and, fence posts and thinking this sucks. I slowly embraced it. You know, I'm actually I take pride in my country roots now. I learned to, you know, handle guns, ride 4-wheelers, hunt, you know, stuff like that. You know, weren't, you know, it was just being reckless, you know, but doing it in a very different environment. Like, you know, young kids are going to do that regardless.
Right.
And I just, like I adopted a few things, you know. I still like a joke with people. You ever see those stupid videos of people throwing gas on a fire, and the next thing you know, they got a can of gas in their hand that's on fire?
Yep.
Yeah. So us country boys know to use diesel fuel. The fumes burn at different temperatures.
Okay.
So diesel fuel fumes have to be a lot hotter to actually ignite.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you'll never run into a problem. The fire alone, unless you stand on the sun, that fire is never going to get hot enough to ignite the diesel fumes to actually run back to the gas tank. I've helped a few people out, you know, at suburban bonfires, or fire pits rather. I've helped a few keep their porches and their property intact.
Oh man, I bet. I had a buddy. I guess we're not really buddies anymore. He got pretty upset, but you know how it is when you're a teenager and something kind of messed up happens to your friend. Kind of that first instinct is to laugh, right? Or like make a joke because maybe you're in shock, right? So we were at a party in high school, and we'll just call him Brian. Well, that's his name, Brian. Brian decided to light a cup of grain alcohol on fire, and I don't remember exactly what, but he stomped on it for whatever reason. I don't know if he was trying to put it out or what, but when he did that, it splashed everywhere and the fire stayed with it. I know, right? Like you're laughing too. Everybody listening, I swear, I don't think this is funny anymore. It's Chris's reaction that's making me laugh here. So it ends up all over the garage door because we're in the front yard of this person's house, and it lands on him as well. And obviously it's like burning. And all I can remember is like being seriously like worried, but also we're all, you know, a little drunk and we're teenagers. And so cracking up like crazy. And I just remember like stop, drop, and roll, but while laughing, feeling terrible. Right. And man, he didn't talk to me for months. Like he wouldn't talk to me for months.
Hey, you give him sound advice though. I mean,
I did give him sound advice. I did. Right. All those PSAs, those commercials growing up, they work. Stop, drop, and roll if you ever catch yourself on fire. Yeah. But I'll tell you, man, fire is a heck of a scary thing, but that's a good tip. So anybody out there that's doing crazy stuff, use diesel fuel. Don't use regular gas.
And Romeo, real quick on the topic though, another reason I laughed is, you know, just so everyone knows, you were my boss at a chapter of my life. So I can admit to you now, I made that same mistake as a bartender, and I lit your bar on fire.
Well,
I think I was throwing him back. My buddy came in and I was, you know, trying to show him, oh yeah, this is a flaming Dr. Pepper. And that thing splashed, I blew it out, and man, did that thing reignite so fast.
Hey, you're lucky you didn't burn down the whole restaurant, because if we're talking about Teddy and the Bully Bar, the amount of poly coat that was on top of that bar.
Oh my Ain't that the truth, man?
Shout out to Maggie O'Neill, another local DC artist, and her team. They did a beautiful job with that.
Spot.
Yeah, beautiful spot. But that entire bar, I mean, I was there from the beginning when they were building it. And I remember they painted it with that really cool color, and then they did one coat and then another coat. I mean, we're talking probably 1.5 inches of poly was on that sucker. So thank God it didn't get hot enough to get into that, because that would have gone up like a torch too. Oh man. So listen, you had a couple cool books here on your info sheet when you sent it over. What is this Zen to Done book all about?
All right. So Zen to Done, I got on a whim, recommendation from a friend. I got it from actually this dude, Scott Parker. He's actually been a huge supporter of me. You know, he's hired me for multiple jobs. He owns a bunch of bars, restaurants, boxing gyms, barber shops, dog kennels. I mean, oh wow, the kid's brilliant. I say kid, I mean, he's older than me, but in terms of like where he is at with his success in his career at this age, I say the term kid. He turned me onto it. He's a one of those humans that is just adamantly chasing knowledge, and I respect that about him. One thing I respect about him is his brilliance of organization. Now, I've always kind of laughed about the contradiction, you know, of making it as an artist, you know, making art your career. I could be wrong. Personally, I'm a big fan of science, and I have a huge belief in like hemispheres of brains and what's activated and where our strengths lie and where our weaknesses are.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer from myself and the people that I've interacted with that have this raw talent for art, that they are disheveled and their organization is garbage.
Mm.
And, you know, I personally thrive with no schedule. I love to shoot from the hip, and I love to just kind of like roll with the punches and, you know, take it day by day. If the challenge shows up, make it happen. I don't like time frames, nothing like that. I'm not saying that these are benefits I'm trying to hold on to. I do these more or less as character defects. And the beauty of being human, we can chase knowledge and we can correct these things. I don't have to just roll over and just say like, oh, it is what it is. Yeah, I suck at it, but that doesn't mean I can't get, you know, manageable level with it. So Zen to Done was recommended to me by this gentleman, Scott Parker. Yeah, I should probably be telling you the author's name, but it doesn't come to mind right now. The book's sitting inside of my nightstand, so I don't have it with me. But it's kind of just a simplicity. You know, there are days where it's like you're yelled at your phone and you're just like, come on, man, like stop texting me. And it's just, that person might just be saying, what's up? You know, like it's all love, man. And you're just mad because you're busy and you might, you know, told yourself the night before, I'll be out the house by 8:30. And, you know, you're still brushing your teeth after your 6th cup of coffee at 10 a.m. and you haven't left yet. And, you know, that's all you. So this is kind of like a little breakdown of like things in there have helped me tremendously. Like I used to say, okay, these things are going to complete the day. I put like 15 things on that list, you know, like, oh, you're going to knock out a canvas just because you love that friend of yours. And you're just going to, you know, section off, you know, 10 hours of your day. You're going to take no breaks. You're not going to lose focus, and you're going to have the discipline to do it. Just 10 hours straight there. You're going to finish a canvas. Then you're going to get to the post office. Don't worry. You'll get to the gym and your grocery shopping. And it's like, after a while, it's so overwhelming that you look back on your day and you're like, oh my God, like I hate myself. I just scrolled Instagram and, you know, chain smoked cigarettes and drank coffee all day. You know, like I've accomplished nothing. So this book helped me a lot because that was my way, you know, and it was starting to eat me up. Yeah. And this one is just kind of like, be real, you know, be honest with yourself, you know? So now I do 2, maybe 3 things if I'm feeling, you know, productive. And that's my list for the day, you know, and it's just restructuring things to kind of think like, you know, where they say Rome wasn't built in a day. But yeah, it's like my mother used to always tell me, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And I went from kind of living like that old cartoon. I don't know where it even came from. I always think it's like some old French cartoon, but it's like a guy with like all these plates on sticks spinning.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's like as one's starting to go over, and he's like it's just like this whole balancing act. I feel like that was me day in and day out, and now I just kind of feel more like you know, I'm sitting down in front of this hunk of marble trying to make a sculpture, and every day it's just getting chipped at. I like the latter, you know, I like that kind of, you're just constantly picking away at it. And it just helped me restructure things and kind of, I think the Zen aspect is like the amount of mental space it opens to, you know, find some, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, now a new career of being like a personal organizer, but I needed a little bit of assistance. Zen to Done helped me with that. Awesome. Simplicity, man. It's a pamphlet basically, but each chapter might be, you know, 20 pages, but yeah, man, it's just kind of just like breaks it down real simple. I don't need complexity. I don't need to go to the Container Store and buy a bunch of Tupperware or anything. Like I need more mental space so I can create. But like, yeah, it just helped me because my organization was getting to a where bad. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, that's why it's like the, you know, the starving artist. Well, it's like the contradiction is like, you could alleviate so much if you just made this kind of flaw in your life like manageable. Yeah, and it helped alleviate a lot of that burden. I still, you know, use the practice that it's one of the things you can pick up and then, you know, readdress because, you know, like most things, you got to have kind of a daily reminder or else you're going to be back on your old bullshit in, you know, a week or something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, again, back to my guy, Zig Ziglar, who I love to listen to all the time, you know, he uses a great analogy where he's like, listen, motivation and positivity is like showering in deodorant. If you don't want to stink in a few days, you have to do it consistently, right?
Yep.
And I think people think all the time, like, oh, I'm going to pick up a book, I'm going to listen to it, and I'll be motivated for the rest of the year. Wrong, not going to happen, right? For you, man, I think a great book that would be a good follow-up to that book. So Gary Keller and Jay Papasan wrote a book called The One Thing. And it talks about exactly what you were saying, like just chipping away and like really focusing on that, what that one thing is for you. And then maybe just as a layer on top of that, just to help you like feel really good, like that you're doing in the right thing. Cause that one thing, sometimes you have some limiting beliefs, like, but I feel like I should be doing more. Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect, is an awesome book that just talks about the compounding effects, not just in money and in the stock market, but the compounding effects of habits that you form and that you do each day, right? Just like, I mean, again, you're into fitness. Do you get fat overnight?
No, I
Nope.
took on the pandemic.
Right? Like you get fat over a year of bad eating habits, and or you drop 20, not overnight, right? So same thing. Yeah. All right. And so how about a book that's made like the most positive impact on your life?
The Obstacle is the Way.
What's that about?
So The Obstacle is the Way is actually about, again, I'm terrible with the authors. You know, it's just like me being a bartender. I can remember your drink, but I can't remember your name, even though you've been here, twice a week for the last, 3 years.
Yeah.
The Obstacle is the Way is a book focused on the Stoics. For those who are not, fully aware of what the Stoics are or who they are, it's people like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, people who really had cognitive thought about what makes the man, how to master the mind, and like discipline and mental discipline. Because I mean, this is, we all got a gift between our ears, and that gray matter is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But, just like you don't want to put, a 9-year-old kid who's never driven a car behind, the wheel of a Lamborghini, you don't want to be in the driver's seat if you don't have control or, the ability to master your mind. And the Stoics, I mean, they were writing things and saying things that we still apply to our everyday life. And they were doing it, in the BC days, fighting, massive wars for 15 years on end, living in tents, fighting with swords, and still, focusing on, and putting into words, how can I, not be bothered by what someone says about me or something like that? How can I be free of the fear of what people might say of me? Those kind of things, the self-doubt and the, judgment and things like that. Still, that long ago, we're still focused on like, how can I eradicate that and master my mind to not even go there? So what this book is about is a focus on those men's writings, probably Marcus Aurelius' meditations, and what they do, or what this author has done, has taken major figures through probably American history and shown how they have been shining examples of this highly developed mental discipline. The wrongfully accused incarcerated boxer, the Hurricane, how he did not, here you got a man in, a time, I mean, maybe not even, a time that's fully eradicated, but, a time period where a bar got shot up, we got witnesses saying one thing, but we also got, a black male in the same vicinity. Let's just close this case and put it on him.
Yeah.
Lack of evidence, all that. They, put him in there, threw away the key. When he came out, he didn't walk around with a chip on his shoulder. He didn't, seek, just the rest of his life to attain revenge. He wanted to get back to living. Mm-hmm. This was something he couldn't control. It was bullshit and it sucked. But his strength and his mental discipline came from the fact that I'm not going to let you have me. Like my life is worth too much to me to let you, take my joy, take my peace. Teddy Roosevelt, to that book, coming as a man who was born into the world, with asthma, physical ailments, and through that pushed himself into now he was the Teddy Roosevelt we think of as this gregarious mountaineer that wanted to go on African safaris and hunt the biggest game known to man. Things of this nature. So he applies these practices of mental discipline and pairs it with very interesting icons of predominantly American history who have utilized this and just says, this is it. And if you man up or woman up, you can be like this too. It's simple, but it ain't easy. But if you work at it, the payoff is exceptional.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of like you build up this armor, I guess. There was
I'm picking that one up next.
Yeah, there's one Epictetus says. Epictetus is one of, if I'm pronouncing that right, he's one of the Stoics, and he said, "Who then is invincible?" And it says, "The man who is unbothered by anything outside his reasoned choice." So if he didn't necessarily make that call, hey, Chris's art sucks. I don't like it. Well, I didn't ask you to say that about me. I didn't, choose to, I don't believe that. So you can say, you can do what you will, but it's like, I can't let that in because I don't believe it, and it's just like that mental armor. But yeah, the obstacle is the way is fascinating. Just kind of
I love that.
Back against the wall and, come out swinging.
Everybody should pick that up. That's been a theme a lot in my life over the last probably year. There's another podcast that I listen to, and I've referenced this gentleman quite a bit. I actually look up to him quite a bit in my industry of real estate, and his name is Adam Hergenrother. And he does this podcast called Business Meets Spirituality. And it's a really, really good podcast, like short 30-minute, bits, but really, really good. And he talks often about this theory of like just surrendering, right? And like, they talk through it a lot because a lot of people struggle with that word surrender, thinking that it means like you just give up and you just let anything happen to you and blah, blah, blah. But what he's really getting at is that what you just said, like just understanding that like you have to be whole inside, you have to be good inside, you have to be happy inside, like your well-being needs to come from within. And until it can come from within and anything that happens on the outside can't permeate into your okayness, that you still got some work to do. Because, so many of us on a regular basis, especially in the world of social media, right? Like we're looking for outside stuff to make us feel good, right? Like even, I mean, gosh, I've been guilty of it, right? Like you're working. Like I just need a vacation. I just can't wait for this vacation. That vacation is going to make me all better. And the thought there is like, well, why can't you just be good and then go and really enjoy that vacation? Because guess what? If it's the vacation that you need that's going to make you good, it's going to be a short-lived good.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And it's also, I think, one of those things, like it's a balance, there's some pit bulls out there, some real extreme ones. I love his stuff, but David Goggins, and the guy's insane.
He's insane.
I'll say it outright. He's insane.
Yeah.
But I still find myself going to this insane man and listening to him and utilizing principles and his perspectives on things in my life. Yeah. But it's a balance for real, I mean, you gotta let yourself be human too, and I'm sure David Goggins isn't against that. If you have an emotion or if you haven't slept in a while because you've been grinding or you haven't had a bite to eat, I mean, we're still organic creatures. That stuff affects us, whether we like to believe it or not. I have plenty of times in my life where I joke and I'm like, I wish I was a robot so I wouldn't have to eat or sleep. Well, I mean, I'm saying that jokingly because I love being human because it allows me to do what I do. Robots can't do that. But it's like sometimes you gotta be human. If you get frustrated, if you throw a fit or you have self-doubt, like you can't go on the extreme end and beat yourself up over that. Brush it off, understand, I'm a human, it's just, that brain is trying to keep me safe, but like, I think we can do this. So let's push on,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good point, right? Like the brain is designed to keep the human body safe, right? The brain is a tool, it's a CPU. And now we're getting a little deep, but there's the train of thought that like there's a spirit inside of you and that the brain is a tool. And that when you begin to do things maybe that aren't within your purpose and you're starting to suffer, it's because you're starting to listen to the brain, and the brain is utilizing the training that it's gotten, that you've poured into it all this time, versus actually listening to you, the spirit behind the brain. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So not to get too deep with everybody out there, but it's something that I've been exploring a little bit more. And when you start to ask those questions, I think that's when you may not solve it, but at least you're present. Right. So if you have like I have certain triggers that react, like even my wife and I we didn't get into an argument this time because I actually was able to respond it and recognize it. But, for me, once something, and you probably remember this from restaurant, like a messy place drives me nuts. Like it's my trigger. It sets me off. Why is the bar a mess? Your station looks like trash, right? I'm the same at home. Why does the kitchen look like this? There's trash all over the place, right? And so I'm like feverishly cleaning everything. And she's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, I'm frustrated. I'm not mad at you. I'm just really frustrated that the kitchen is a mess again. It's a trigger for me. I finally realized that it's a trigger. I'm living in it and allowing it, but I'm not allowing it to now go out and affect everything else. Whereas maybe a month ago, it might have been a fight, and now Thursday night was ruined with me and the wife.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I feel you.
Oh man. Well, listen, this has been incredible. I think that people are going to love this. They're going to learn a lot from it. And I think they're going to take a lot of nuggets away from this. So we super, super duper appreciate you being here. Where can everybody find you at? Where can they go see all your amazing art?
Right now, website's in the works, but for the time being, I would direct everyone towards my Instagram. It's at Lynch Got Lost. Little blue icon as my avatar. Christopher Lynch is my name, so find that one. It says Christopher Lynch under it. That's me. Underscores between Lynch Got Lost. And yeah, I'm putting everything up there, man. Commission work, stuff I just do on rainy days. When I feel like the walls are closing in, I run around and, maybe throw something up on an abandoned building. No harm, no foul. So I'm posting all my stuff up there.
Okay. All right. That's beautiful. Awesome. And we'll post in the show notes all the links to the books and everything that you spoke about as well. And Chris, man, we really appreciate you being on the Maverick Mindset podcast. So Maverick Nation, this has been my boy, Chris Lynch, the incredible artist and incredible human being. Thank you all so much. Catch us on the next show and make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much, everybody. Chris, love you, brother.
All right, bet. Thank you, Romeo. Have a good one, man. Much love.
All right. Peace.
So I canceled my haircut appointment, slept for maybe like 2-3 hours prior to this. So I'm running on like a few hours of sleep, but I cleared my head, painted last night. And that was a necessity. And I'm not going to lie, like this was not really like a huge thing I was looking forward to. Not because I don't love you, it's just because I wasn't rested. And it's just one of them things, like the comfortable route would have, shot out a reason why I can't, maybe come clean and say, mentally, I'm not equipped for this right now. I'm sorry, brother, but I'm bailing. And then I would just turn on, The Office or Sunny in Philadelphia and just lounge on the couch with my dog and just sit on my ass. But I didn't. And I'm so much happier that I'm here and have done this, even though it wasn't something I looked forward to. I'm full honesty.
Sure.
But I did it. And it's time after time, these things show me it's like, do the uncomfortable and it's going to benefit. Like it's crazy, but yeah, I'm just glad I have the mental prowess now to like identify and say, don't be a pussy, just do the damn thing.